Misha. Let's watch Misha.
She put an iPad so that the child will follow her like a dog.
Why do you need 2 screens?
The entitlement and genuine stupidity.
I don't know. I can't read Roman numerals.
Why are they so rude?
Extraordinary.
My students can't read.
So last week I had lunch with a few family friends, and one of them brought her daughter, who's about 10 years old, and she starts talking.
I always mute myself like that, and I will start talking and realize that I'm muted once I'm firing up. But no, I've heard about this concept of younger generations not being able to read, not being able to like think for themselves. They just go to ChatGPT. Even some of the ways in which they were taught to read are not phonetic, so they can't sound things out. Isn't that kind of crazy? So, yeah, I mean, I think it's really important, especially now, for parents to be parent maxing. You have to make sure that your kids know at least how to read, how to do basic math, maybe even some algebra is somewhat helpful. But can't read? Boys, there's an issue out there. Base birdies, there's an issue. Base chads, there's an issue out there. Seriously.
To me about Therians. And I just started to wonder, how does a 10-year-old girl know about these internet subcultures, but not her times tables? Because her mother was complaining about her struggling in school. How does she know 6, 7? Like, hopefully iPad, like a purse, it's just hanging from her shoulder so that the child will follow her like a dog. More iPad kids. Can we just normalize kids and iPads in restaurants?
The reason that I'm skipping ahead is because I don't want to react to her reaction. If that makes sense, like necessarily. But yeah, I mean, like the iPads in front of these kids will keep them pacified. But I think it does something to their brain. You know, it fucks their attention span. It makes them reliant upon the technology. Luckily, I was born at a time when it was just coming on. So I remember a time when there was no smartphone. I remember a time with dial-up. I remember a time, you know, where you couldn't just get on the internet and be on the phone at the same time. I remember landlines. It was a different time. It was a slower time, in my opinion. And I think it has its pros because I'm able to have a conversation and not look at my phone while y'all are just glued to it. But I think that it is an addictive thing. You know, it is an addictive stimulus having that phone in front of you, especially with these social medias, you know, sites with the likes and all the rest of the bullshit. If from a young age, sorry, boys, I told you I'm feeling a little bit better weather, a little bit. If from a young age you you're glued to this shit, you know what I mean, and you end up equating your sense of importance, right, with a like or a follow or whatever emoji. Like, you end up having to look for it often. You're constantly searching for it, right? And so you've got that phone out and you're watching, you're looking. Like, that is that's a tough place to be, in my opinion. Right? Like, I don't think that that's a good place for anybody to be. Because you end up sort of a slave in a way to some site, you know, some like app, which is, like, I don't know. I think that you get more done when your eyes are up at the world. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with the sentiment of trying to keep this to a minimum, having the iPads and iPhones in front of the kids till they get to thinking age. When that is, that's another debate.
Parents need downtime too. Time to connect, have adult conversations. Sometimes parents don't have the support, so taking the kids is the only option for them. Let's not judge. I wonder what parents used to do before iPads if they wanted time to connect and have the.
I mean, in my subjective experience, my mom would just tell me to sit down, don't talk. And, you know, that's what we did. I don't agree with corporal punishment, so to speak, of children. I would never, but, or ever support it, because I don't agree with violence in any way. I believe that sometimes you got to do it, right? Like, I mean, it's not just like, it's not as easy as saying no violence ever. You know, you can't be a, what do they call those? What do they call those things? The, like, the, the passive religion. I forget them, but there's a Quakers. You know, I'm not a Quaker in the sense that no violence ever, right? I know that violence is required sometimes. However, teaching a child that hitting is a way that you get your point across is not, in my opinion, the right way to do it. But that's what my experience was when I was young. And after it happened, I was very reluctant to act out of place. So, again, was it the right way? No. But the point was made by my parents, i.e., there was some level of parent maxing, good or bad. And I think that neglecting to play a role as a parent, right, and impose some direction and guidance. I agree with the sentiment of guiding your child to the right option, and weathering the storm that way. However, I think there's a limit as to what you should do to your children. You can get the point across differently, and yeah, you just got to be parent maxing. You can't just rely on a tablet. Weird.
The kids be distracted for a bit. I remember when I was about this age, right? I was an only child till about 7. So I would usually bring my friends to the restaurant with my family when we would all hang out together. And I just remember them talking and us talking separately, right? Like they would have their adult conversations, whatever. And we would speak with each other, my friend and I. Perhaps some of you can relate, but we found ways to keep ourselves entertained without an iPad. And if now the situation is that kids cannot do that, that is a problem. Now they need their little, kitty headphones or whatever, and they have to be completely immersed in Cocomelon, or else mommy and daddy can't have a conversation. POV, your 2-year-old Gen Alpha's iPad dies. 2 years old.
Yeah, I mean, see what happens. Like, if you rely on this thing and it dies, like you see how upset it makes them. Like, you should be able to just take a toy from a child and give them another toy, right? Like, if they become, and we don't know how long this goes on for, right? But if you take a toy away from a child, they may have an emotional response like that. But ultimately, if it's prolonged, doesn't that indicate some sort of mental need for it? And do you really want to do that to your child, make them reliant upon a piece of technology? Like, I don't think anybody wants that, personally.
Also, look at the state of this iPad. It's seen better days. But she won't
Yeah,
even
it's crazy.
give the iPad to.
Why do you need to be so overstimulated that you need to watch 2 things at once, though?
I don't. I just like watching 2 things.
Yeah, look at that. So she's watching 2 videos. She's got a video on the iPad. She's got a different video on an iPhone. And one is placed above the other. The iPad is placed above the iPhone. She's watching both. This is what happens, is it becomes so ingrained in how they operate their day and their entertainment that they need all that stimulation in order to satisfy the dopamine of watching entertainment. Think about that for a second, boys. And base birdies. And base chads. Imagine eating two things at once just to stay entertained. Like, your attention is so shot that you need to see one, and then you need to see the other in order to get a break from that one. And then once you get tired of that one, you got this one. That's what that's telling me. And we don't think at some level this is fucking with people's heads. Of course it is. Of course it is. In base birdies. In base game masters. You know I love you guys. Just jokes. Come on, come on. So, kind of wild.
Flashing lights and colors on one iPad is not enough.
I need my iPad because I don't understand the homework.
I can help you if you don't understand.
Social media is better at it.
I'm pretty good at it.
I should use social media, think.
Yeah, kind of an interesting take here. We have a mom who is social media maxing the reaction of her social media max child, and the child is calling her on her bullshit, which is actually kind of based. But no, both of them seem to be addicted to social media. This is what it does. I don't understand the homework. Yeah, she doesn't understand because she can't pay attention in class. She's so reliant on the internet's tools to get the right answer that she's not thinking for herself, which allows her to be delusion maxed, which is what we do not like on this fucking stream or channel or whatever the fuck you call this. I hate people who are delusion maxing. I don't hate them. Some of them I pity, some of them I don't. Yeah, I mean, like, you can convince people to do whatever comes on ChatGPT, right? I mean, imagine, like, if you rely most of your life on these tools, where does the thinking for yourself come into play? You're just getting the answer. You're not checking any of the sources. I think that's what people need to ingrain in their children, is the skepticism at some level to the answers that they're given. Otherwise, you're kind of susceptible to believing anything, in my opinion. But just me.
No, this is straight up addiction. He's on some kind of scooter thing and with an iPad. You know, I'm just saying, I know it can get annoying to be like, back in my day, but really, when I was a kid, that spinny chair thing, that would have been enough to keep me occupied for hours. I wouldn't need an iPad in addition.
Now, you don't need it.
Actually happens.
Kids freaking.
I will plug it in later. There is no need for it right now. You don't need it.
I can't play it later if you don't plug it in now. You'll never understand.
I'm sorry, this has.
Yeah, I mean, like, the emotional response is pretty charged, but I mean, this could be anything. Like, you could have a child reacting like this to an Xbox or a PS5 or something like that. I don't know if this is completely out of place. You know what I mean? But there is an emotional response to it. And they should be able to work through those emotions. And I think the mom, like, filming this, I don't know, it just seems a little out of place to me. I don't like the filming of the children and then posting it on social media. I mean, that sort of indicates that you are almost egging some of this on. This is a child. So I look at the parents a lot. I mean, seriously. Like, parents really need to allow their children to find stimulation outside of a fucking phone or iPad. You know, even if it's easier to give them that. Who said parenting was supposed to be easy? Yeah.
has to be the result of gentle parenting. How are parents allowing this? So disrespectful. To me, this noise of kids yelling, screaming, crying, it's
at a summer camp this year, and I didn't understand the severity of the brain rot. Holy shit. Not only is their lingo actually terrifying, but the entitlement and genuine stupidity, and I'm sorry to call kids stupid, but like, we are not smart anymore at all.
entitled, bratty, and I'm sorry, but who can we blame if not the parents, right? You're gonna
For how to spell it, or just knowing that there was 7 continents at the age of 12. Half the kids cannot spell without asking for how to spell it or just sounding it out, which is baffling to me. The genuine entitlement that kids nowadays have. I had a
They can't sound shit out a lot of the time because they weren't taught how to read phonetically. They were not phonetic maxing. They were picture maxing. So essentially they had to memorize what the words looked like, is my understanding. And then they realize that doesn't work because no one can read now. So if you find a word that you don't know, you can't just sound it out. You have no clue what it is. It's like a different language. Seriously. So that's why they can't sound it out. Entitlement, that's a reoccurring issue. But I think it's gotten worse because parent maxing is on min-maxing levels right now, in my opinion. Based on what I'm seeing around the globe. Just my 2 cents.
10-year-old boy break down, like throw a literal hissy fit for 30 minutes over one rule changing in walkie-talkie tag, being that there can be more than one person guarding the jail. It's never been like that. You're trying to make us look
kind of like what we just heard with that iPad meltdown. I don't know, like, how is this possible? Are parents not punishing their kids anymore? Can't just be, oh, okay, we'll get you the iPad later. Let's just redirect your attention. It's behind, and schools just lower expectations.
Toilets and all that is actually affecting Gen Alpha's IQ. The Flynn effect basically states that every generation after the previous one, the average IQ will increase. However, comparing Gen Z to Gen Alpha, they're calling it the reverse Flynn effect. The average IQ of a Gen Alpha compared to Gen Z is anywhere from 40 to 60 points lower than Gen Z.
And a lot of that
We aren't sure how accurate those numbers are, but we'll assume it to be true. If it is true, it's a pretty obvious like cause and effect, right? I mean, if you have people relying on something else to think for them, yeah, when they're forced to now think for themselves, it's going to be a foreign territory. That's why you have to challenge your children to think for themselves without the technology. Then the technology becomes a superpower, in my opinion. I'm not anti-technology, but you can't let the technology think for you. That's when you leave yourself susceptible to manipulation and delusion maxing.
begins at home. If adults are not reading, just giving them the iPad, the YouTube,
feels impossible. Reading proficiency for U.S. fourth graders hit its record low last year, and implications for this are really vast. We could see that kids are growing up without the skills that they need to really contribute to the U.S. and the global economy. A lot of kids have just become a lot more reliant on their iPads, on their cell phones. They're not really seeing the value in reading a book.
There are also teenagers who think school is irrelevant.
Yeah, don't underestimate the value of reading with a child, just like regular reading. Like later on, I think it's important, but to an extent, right? I'm not going to give you my thoughts on reading. Maybe I can do another video. But in children, for sure, because it helps them sound out words, helps them figure things out, imagine things, be creative. And that is something that typically the technology is not doing, or TV for that matter. Kids need to learn how to be self-sufficient. And one of those things is allowing their brain to work. And those things allow their brain to work. Unlike a phone or a tablet that can just play a bunch of shit and entertain them and have them reliant on dopamine. Because dopamine fires when you're entertained. So.
Relevant because they are being sold this fantasy that every single one of them are future entrepreneurs. They hear things like drop out because you're your own boss. Have you seen those memes where it's like a conveyor belt of students, like their brain is taken out or whatever, and the memes usually like one bro fails one test, that kind of thing, where everybody thinks school is useless, completely useless, drop out of high school. It'll be easy, you'll become your own boss, you'll get rich quick. They start viewing education in general as pointless, right? Like there are obviously issues with our education system, but to just drop out and you're magically gonna become a millionaire? Don't get me wrong, you
Yeah, the whole drop out of school and do your own thing, become a millionaire is not smart in my opinion. I think that there's only a select few people that can actually do that, who are wired for it. And it's not so much about relying on technology. It's more about managing your emotions and execution. And if you don't have those traits and if you don't have work ethic, it won't work. But you need a lot of your social skills from school. And that's what I think that school is helpful for children in a big way, is them figuring out how to move through social environments. Regardless of the learning, it's the social aspect that is the most important, at least in my opinion.
You should dream big, but you should also have a vision and a plan, and you should at least get. Sometimes parents aren't even monitoring what their child is watching until it's too late.
What time does this clock show?
This clock shows.
Please tell me y'all can tell me that time. Please tell me. That's 1:25. Come on, guys.
What time does this clock show?
I don't know. I can't read Roman numerals like that.
What time does this clock show?
Oh, it says 1:25. 1:25.
Oh my god.
They got it. 1 out of 3. At least on that. There could have been more. But yeah, I mean, people can't read a fucking real clock. Just saying, boys. I mean, you can say, is it necessary? Maybe, but or maybe not. But maybe it is at some point in their life. Maybe it is. You just never know. Having the knowledge is, why not have the knowledge? Tell me why not.
Oh my god.
Okay, not to be a bitch, but why is this new generation of teenagers, Gen Alpha, I think, why are they so rude? They lack any social skills. The way that I see them interact with workers, like just ordering a coffee, oh my god, they have zero spatial awareness. Like they will just stand in a crowded doorway, not aware of everyone that's trying to get around them.
Have you ever seen the little girls order a drink at Starbucks? No, it does enrage me, unfortunately. Because sometimes I feel the urge to.
Hey, base chads and birdies, this is why you get in your best self and you just get on your fitness maxing, because then people just like move out of your way. Just mog on people and everybody moves. Part like the Red Sea. You Moses Max. Should we be Moses maxing? I think so. Yeah, I don't know about this. I'm not around enough Gen Alphas to know if this is true or not. Sounds like a subjective experience, so who knows. But I assume it to be true, and if so, in that area, probably because they're on social media and they're not parented. They had no parent maxing. So they just exist like jellyfish, floating.
To scream at them. Because they're so rude. I hate people in general that are rude to those service workers for
on the 4th grade level. Keep
in the middle of the street.
I teach 7th grade. They are still performing on the 4th grade level. keep moving, passing them on. They just keep passing them on, 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 passing them on. I can put as many zeros in this grade book as I want to. They're gonna move that child to the 8th grade next year. 4th graders being nice. I still have kids performing on grade K, 1, 2, and 3rd grade levels. So just imagine, you don't know that your child been on the 2nd grade level since the 2nd grade, and they now in the 7th or 8th grade.
Also, with the media they're consuming, that helps them form their expectations for communication and for their emotional regulation.
Yeah, I mean, imagine they just keep passing them through and passing them through. I mean, dog, if they don't have to suffer any consequences and have to redo the grade and be the idiot that is in the class for 4 years straight, how are they supposed to actually learn? Like, they need to learn, and by just allowing them to progress into exponentially more difficult work is not just demoralizing for the child, but it doesn't serve any use. How is the teacher supposed to teach them things if they can't even fucking understand what's going on? Seriously. So, yeah, I mean, that's an issue.
Because if a toddler spends countless...
Are you serious?
You picked a hard one on huh?
To think, and that is sad, yes, but that is also dangerous. High school teachers, because of No Child Left Behind.
1 fist huh? 2 fists huh?
Are you serious?
You picked a hard one on purpose.
It's a Dr. Seuss book, you dipsh.
Liberal activists said phonics drills take the joy out of reading.
They're so boring. I swear they do a better job than Nembutal or Trazodone in putting children to sleep.
This balanced literacy teacher actually discourages her student from sounding words out.
Stop doing that. Stop. You can't sound out the.
Yeah, don't sound out words. Don't phonetically understand the language. Boy, that makes total sense. This teacher is delusion maxing. Again, we need more resources so that we don't hire a delusion maxer like this teacher who is LARPing as a teacher maxer. This is insane.
I don't know why you started doing that.
Instead, the child should
look at the picture
and try to guess the word.
What?
Balanced literacy.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, this was... Of course the kids can't read. This was being taught to them. Shit's insane. Just so you know, teaching kids how to read by pictures doesn't work. You need to teach them phonetics. You need to phonetics, Max, not picture Max.
Literacy was widely accepted until 2 years ago when podcaster Emily Hanford released a series called Sold a Story. Parents told her,
it didn't seem like they were really teaching them to read. It seemed like they were teaching them to sound like they could read.
Time magazine quoted teachers who called phonics dehumanizing, colonizing, the man telling us what to do.
Oh yeah, it's the man telling us what to do, telling us how to read. This is delusion max. I think this was probably a scam max. I wonder if they got money for this concept. It'd be interesting to know. Boy, is this delusion maxing in its final form.
Okay, so that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. They're supposed to guess the word, so they're not actually being taught how to read.
What does this word say?
I don't know.
Medium. Close? Miniature. Get any of the letters?
And then I.
Minimum. She got it.
We had to learn cursive, how to read cursive, and how to write cursive. Do they not do this anymore? She wore a silhouette of clothes that were extraordinary.
Yeah, so this note is not even in cursive now. This note is in regular handwriting.
Ordinary, but somewhat gauche.
Yeah, end this card for me.
She wore a suit, clothes that were. Who's this for? Extraordinary, but somewhat Gertrude?
Yep, that is a full-grown girl right there. Not able to read. How do you like them apples, boys? That's who can vote, too. Yep. Yep, she can vote.
Now explain what that means.
I don't know.
Oh! She wore a sahalat of clothes that were extraordinary, whatever, bro. but somewhat gooch.
What does that mean?
She wore a lot. Wait, she wore. Bro, I don't know, bro.
He also can probably vote. Yikes. Or close to. Yikes.
You take the card back, please.
How don't you know silhouette?
Not going to attempt it because then that makes them feel
This on COVID. I really don't think so.
my students can't read. You're going to give them a test with a text on it that they don't understand. So they're not going to attempt it because then that makes them feel a specific type of way. They don't want to struggle.
That is the problem. They don't want to struggle. They also can't handle being bored for just a second or understimulated. They need silence sometimes, though, to be able to handle that. They can't have constant stimulation every second.
Yep. Stimulation issue. You can't sit still and entertain yourself, at least sometimes, you're going to be in a big load of trouble when it comes time to actually display focus. You know? Seriously.
Second of their lives. It's going to be impossible to learn anything. Problem instead of reverse years of this overstimulation.
To me or my classroom was let into my room by another adult. A teacher is one of the reasons why. A student who wasn't assigned to me or my
Solving it for them because teachers cannot reverse years of this overstimulation and neglect completely by themselves.
teachers are quitting mid-year again at record numbers. Is one of the reasons why. A student who wasn't assigned to me or my classroom was let into my room by another adult, a teacher's aide, and repeatedly ignored my direction and instructions to leave. Eventually, she repeatedly called me a and threatened me with physical violence, which sent me into a panic attack.
Oh, like it's a fact that some kids think they can get away with that.
Gen Z is
So when I was going to school, the SRO officer would have been called in. He would have just pulled you and ripped you out. The SRO officer was like a police officer that was stationed in the school. And the school I went to wasn't crazy, like dangerous or anything, but you know, at least there were resources enough to put one there. That's my point. They should have a mechanism of enforcement. Kids should be taught that if you do press the rules and the boundaries, something will happen. You know, seriously. Or else they won't learn. Or else they think they can press the boundaries everywhere until they get hit in the face with reality, like some of these body cam videos that we watch. You know.
is officially the first generation ever to score lower on IQ tests than their parents. Neuroscientist Jared Cooney Horvath analyzed decades of data and found sharp drops in attention, memory, reading, maths, problem solving, and overall IQ. The decline began around 2010, exactly when digital technology flooded classrooms. Horvath told US lawmakers that more than half of a teenager's waking life is now spent staring at a screen. Today's kids are being trained for speed and not thinking.
Yeah, that's the issue. And also schools, when they
So that's the end of the video. The rest is her talking. She's cool. I like her. I'm gonna subscribe to her. Boom. And thumbs up. Boom. Yeah, so crazy. Like they can't read. They're dumber than their parents. Who's the parents of these people? Hold on, let's look. Who is mostly Gen Alpha parent? Oh, millennials. Hey, so my generation. Hey, we're a bunch of idiots. We cannot parent max. We're dumb shits when it comes to parent maxing. Well, great. Thanks, millennials.